Cash Talks. I am super excited tonight. This episode, we're going to talk about something really passionate about, which is health and fitness. And I thought, who better to talk to about health and fitness than my good friend, Vince Adams, better known to me and some of our better friends out there as Vinny. Vinny, how you doing, pal?
Good, Cash. How are you?
Good, man. I'm glad we could finally get this together.
And I haven't seen you in a while. You're looking studly.
Thank you, man. Thank you, man. I see you got the hair going. You got that Conan vibe kind of happening for you.
Yeah.
Good, man. Good. That's awesome. Well, thanks for coming on. I wanted to talk to people about health and fitness and nutrition. And I know you and I have chatted a lot about it. And I'm following a lot of different guys like this Gary Brecka guy, this human biologist that was a mortality analyst for life insurance companies for many years, who a lot of people are hearing about this guy now. He's just blowing up like crazy because or I should put it this way, Dana White, I guess, worships the ground this guy walks on because he claims he saved his life. Dana White's health was so out of whack. High blood pressure through the roof, triglycerides through the roof. I think he was close for a heart attack, has had all kinds of gut and digestion problems. And he said he was on medications for 10 to 15 years. And his life and health was just a wreck, because if your health is a wreck, you're a wreck, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It affects everything.
And that's what Dana was experiencing. And this guy's running the UFC, right? He's the prez,
right?
Making things happen out there, making $1 bazillion. But what's it matter if you make $1 bazillion and you just can't even bend over and tie your shoes without pain?
Right.
And ironically enough, that's what Gary Brecka said to him. He said, I bet you he previewed his blood work, right? And then he calls Dana and said, Dana, I bet you're even having problems tying your own shoes. And Dana White said, wow. He said, yes, you're right. I have trouble tying my own shoes. It's painful. Yeah. So from that point on, he said, we need to change things for you and your diet, your health, your life today. And they did. And the guy's he's just walking on air today. He's just like unbelievably healthy. Everything's down. He's off all the meds and everything's going fantastic for him. And you'll see him on Instagram and Facebook and all these social media sites, just worshiping the ground this Gary Brecka walks on.
Well, so, I saw a short little video of Dana White, just recently, and he was talking about fasting, and he had his shirt off, and he looked terrific. His physique looked really good, even had abs, and before he was not looking healthy.
Right.
But, I'm glad, I'm happy for him,
Heck yeah. And that reminds me, so guys like Gary Brecka, and anytime I'd hear something about nutrition or, health or exercise or hormones or anything like that, I always say, call my buddy Vinny. See what I'll bounce this off of him and see what he has to say. And you've always got an acute knowledge of all of those things because you've been doing this forever, right?
Yeah. I've been doing it for over 50 years.
50
I've been
years.
Training, over 50 years I've been working out.
Yeah.
I've been doing the diet, nutrition.
By the way, everybody, look at Vinny, 63, right?
Yeah, 63.
63. Shocking, man. I would never think that, man. When you were playing Conan the Barbarian at Universal Studios back in the day, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was one of my first gigs when I got to, to Los Angeles.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. No, that was awesome. You're perfect Conan for that. And I have a picture of you with Arnold Schwarzenegger, the original Conan, right?
Yeah, I was about 20 years old there, maybe 21. That was at the premiere of the sequel, the Conan sequel.
Okay, right.
And I was at that. Yeah.
At that time, because I know you won some Mr. Natural bodybuilding contests.
Yeah.
And you're also a personal trainer. You had trained a variety of different people and some celebrities. You had some celebrity people in your group.
Yeah,
you were
trained a few. Yeah, a few celebrities. Yeah.
Yeah. I think wasn't one of them a guy who played Rudy?
Yeah. Sean Astin. I trained Sean Astin right around that time that he did Rudy when Rudy came out. Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
So you took this little guy and you made him powerful.
Well, too powerful. Because his management told him, hey, you need to back off. You're getting too muscular. As a matter of fact, that same thing happened with Ethan Emery. I was training him, and his agent said same thing. You're getting too big, too muscular. You got to back
Too
off.
muscular. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
But that's, I mean, at that time, that's what I was, I was going for. They came, they said they wanted to, they wanted to change their physiques. They wanted to get some muscle. And that's what I was doing. I was putting muscle on them.
Right.
But apparently it was a little too much for the entertainment industry,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that is amazing. That is something you don't hear that very often. I've never heard that where someone's gaining muscle too fast.
Well, yeah, they were staying lean. They were afraid, their management, I guess, was afraid that they were going to muscle themselves right out of jobs because they had a certain niche that they were getting jobs in, and if you get out of that, it's like, okay, now where do we put you? What roles can you get? So
interesting.
Yeah.
There was another celebrity that you had trained too that a lot of people know about.
I trained Merv Griffin for a while.
Merv Griffin. There you go. Thank you. Yeah. That had to be interesting, huh?
That was very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was a wonderful man. Wonderful man. We became friends. But he didn't really want to work hard. He didn't want to train hard. And we'd end up in his living room and he would turn on his karaoke machine and he'd be singing to me. It's like, I'm sitting in Merv Griffin's living room with a private concert.
Pretty surreal. How about that? Yeah. Then we got to find this.
If I got him to sing harder, he would have gotten in better shape. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So a guy like Merv, how many days a week would you guys train or something?
Someone like that, I like to do maybe 3 days out of the week. Yeah.
Right.
Just maintenance. We would try to do different activities. I'd take him down, to the, he had a tennis court, and I would take him down there and think, okay, let me play tennis with him. But he was a really good tennis player. And it ended up that I would be running back and forth, and he'd be standing in one spot.
I don't envision you as somebody running back and forth playing tennis too much. Am I wrong here?
Yeah. It's not pleasant. No, when you're 250 pounds and,
Right. What I do know, what I do see you doing is what you, I had gotten you into the Scottish Highland Games. I had entered the contest way back in the day in Orange County. And then I did really well in it, because I am Scottish.
Yeah, I saw him in the gym. He said, "Hey, yeah, Cash is doing this Highland Games," and I said, "I said, man, I love that." I said, "I always wanted to try it." And then he said, "Cash, a call." I called you up, and you said, "Hey, come on down." Remember, the game was in about 2 weeks, and we went to the park. You showed me a couple things, and then we went to the games, and I took second place, and I thought. Wow.
Yeah. You were lifting, you were training, you were really strong.
Yeah, I was as Dave Gorman said, he said, your technique's not the greatest, but you're stronger than anybody on this field. That's why you're winning.
Yeah. We brought Conan to the Scottish Highland Games. What do you mean? Come on.
Yeah,
we got into the games and get him sporting a kilt around and tossing logs about. My buddy Hector, who was born and raised in Santa Ana, Hector Hernandez, right? Like, man, I want to do that. He was a real athletic guy, not a big guy, but real athletic, and just this guy that lights up a room anywhere he goes. He's just super funny and just a lovable guy. You can't help but to love Hector, right? And I said, Hector, I don't know, pal. You're supposed to be Scottish to get in there, And he said, well, Vinny's in there. He's Italian. I said, yeah, but he's also half Scottish, right? So we made that happen. But you're like this much Scottish, zero, nothing, right? How am I going to pull this off?
You said he was we said he's the product of a Scottish shipwreck.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we got him in because it was a lot of fun. That was one of the most fun things I've ever done in my life.
Yes.
Those competitions.
Yes. And I remember Hector winning a bunch of medals. You won a bunch of medals. I won a bunch of medals. We were always getting right up there to the very top.
Yeah. But you know what? That was all part of it. The camaraderie that I found.
Amazing.
It was like the camaraderie we used to have in bodybuilding years ago. These guys were, and just like, back in the early days of my bodybuilding, we trained together, and guys would be giving me tips and things like that. And hey, try this, try that, just like at the Scottish Highland Games. And it's like, guys, I'm winning now. I'm winning all these things. You're helping me win,
Right.
And that's
Right.
how good the camaraderie was. They didn't care. It was
Yeah.
like, you know
Yeah.
what? Good, you're winning. That's great,
Yep. Yep. And that's how it was in the
Mm.
Highland Games too. These guys that have been doing it for years, and we saw some pros come in from Scotland. These guys were walking around
Yeah.
at 400 pounds, right?
Yeah, they're even bigger than I was.
But I
Yeah.
wanted to talk about health, nutrition, bodybuilding, and something I'm really been doing a lot of studying. I always have really in studying endocrinology and all the hormone systems and all these things
Yeah.
is that hormones, and with bodybuilding and things like the big S word, steroids, right?
Yeah.
That comes up quite a bit, and that's such a taboo thing for people to talk about, especially in the bodybuilding world or any athletes that have done any big sports or at a professional level. They really like to kind of shy away from that whole conversation.
Yes. In lower doses, it's okay. They you don't find too much. But I would say today's bodybuilders, they, even guys from my era, we look at it and say that these levels, of pharmaceuticals that they're taking is getting to it's a scary, scary thing. I
Right.
mean, they're really, if you want to talk about abusing, they're really abusing. Like, let's take testosterone, for instance, back in the early days, I think the most, like, I dabbled in it a little bit. The most I ever took in a week was like 250 milligrams. Guys now will take 1,500 milligrams.
Right. Right.
It's like, they quadruple, what,
Right.
what was being used, back in the early days. I mean, I did try them. I tried low doses, dosages, even comparative to what guys were doing it, back then.
Right.
I always said, said to myself, I threatened myself with, I'm going to do a huge cycle. I'm going to do it. Yeah, but I just, for some reason, yeah, I just couldn't get myself to do it. It's like, I don't want to do that much,
Right.
So, but I did dabble in it. I did try some cycles back in the day, and I grew.
And honestly, in the bodybuilding world, especially today, even back then, if you wanted to be competitive at a high level, you really had no choice, right?
Right.
Honestly,
Yeah, you get some guys that, they look terrific. They got terrific physiques, and they'll try to allude to the fact that they're natural.
mm-hmm.
And that just gives people really a false sense of hope, because you're not going to get like that. You unless you use drugs. Your body
Correct.
has a certain hormonal profile, and it's going to, and that hormonal profile, that is going to keep you, at the level that you can be, at the highest, level that you can be.
Right.
What you have to do if you want to go above that is now you have to augment your hormonal system. And now you've got to make your hormonal system be, have the capacity, for you to gain more muscle.
Right.
And that's what people aren't realizing. There's very few people that are going to they're going to step on like a, IFBB stage without drugs. There's been a couple of guys
Really
that have like freakish genetics, like Ronnie Coleman. Ronnie Coleman, he stepped on stage, back in the day, and he wasn't on anything. He wasn't using anything, but he wasn't winning either. Ronnie was not winning, and then
just wasn't quite enough.
No, he had a great physique. He had a great looking physique, but he wasn't winning.
Right.
So he talked to one of his friends, his contemporaries, and they told him what he needed to do. Well, he started to do that. And the next year, it was, Superman was on stage.
Really?
Probably in all categories, if you look at all the judging categories, the best, maybe the best physique that's ever stepped on stage.
Ronnie Coleman.
Yeah. And that
Really?
was a guy who had superior genetics and then added that augmentation of,
Okay.
of PEDs, because your body is going to get to the point where it can get, and that's it. And then you're going to be stuck. You will know if you're one of those 1% genetic freaks in the world that, that can, can grow muscle, exponentially. It's, there's a protein in your body called myostatin, and it's responsible for keeping your body from putting on these, copious amounts of muscle, because your body really does not want to have muscle. And so this, this protein holds the muscle down. And there's a few people that have this myostatin deficiency. If you look at, there's certain animals like that Belgian cow that they bred, that's like, or the bull that's like incredibly muscular, is because it has a myostatin deficiency. That's what would happen. If your myostatin levels went down, your muscularity would go up. But then again, like I said, your body does not want to have that much muscle.
Okay.
Look at how fast you lose muscle once you put your body into an environment where it doesn't need the muscle. It's going to go away.
What environment is that where you don't need the muscle? Which I'd love to know that environment.
That would be sitting down behind a desk and not doing anything, and not exercising, not moving around. If you use it or lose it, that's the thing.
Okay.
And
there's
what
a lot of
you're
people
doing,
out there that are not using it, so they're losing it.
Yeah, right. And what you're doing when you go into the gym, it's like you're putting your body, through evolution, and you're putting it into an environment that your body needs to be strong and it needs to have muscle. Right. So that's what your body does. It adapts to the environment that you're putting it in. You're training with weights, it's heavy, the body doesn't like it. So the body says, hey, you know what? We need to be stronger. We need to, recruit more muscle fiber. We need to grow the size of the muscle. We need to, increase blood flow to the muscle and oxygen to the muscle. And that's what happens. It's the same thing with a marathon runner. You put a person into that environment where they're running marathons, and what's the body going to say? Don't need muscle. Let's get rid of all the muscle we can, because we have to oxygenate it and fuel it. And if we don't have it, we can go longer periods of time.
Pardon me. That's why the marathon runners all have that thinner, less muscular type of body compared to a sprinter.
And not particularly lean either. They're skinny, but if you check their body fat percentage against the sprinter that you mentioned, that sprinter would probably have lower body fat.
Interesting.
Because his particular, event, the environment that he's in, muscle, it's conducive to have muscle for that, because it's explosive and they're trying to carry themselves, 100 yards, all that mass, that needs a lot of strength. So they need muscle, and they don't need body fat.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Can I ask you, Vinny, isn't it one thing that steroids help athletes do is help repair muscle, and so they can get back to the gym and do it all over again the next day?
Right. That's one of the differences between natural athletes and athletes that take PEDs is recovery time, performance enhancing drugs.
Now, can I ask, why do you say that instead of just steroids or roids?
You could say it. Steroids or roids has kind of gotten a real bad, and like a negative connotation to it,
Correct.
Because I don't see, it's not a negative thing to me. I think if a guy wants to use, steroids, he should be able to do that.
Yeah. And if you're a pro bodybuilder, you are doing roids.
Exactly. You have to do that. You're going to have to.
Or I'm sorry, PEDs.
You're going to have to do, PED if you want to get on that stage. There, like I said, there's been a few freakazoids out there, but that is not the general public is not like that. You'll go in the
Right.
gym, you'll start working out. You're going to know within 6 months if you are one of those people. You're going to make some initial gains in the beginning. Everyone does.
Right.
Then your body's going to adapt and it's going to stop.
Right.
Some of these people, they just start, they continue to grow. And you'll know. You'll know where you are. And if you're not continually making muscle, growing muscle in a year at a fast rate, you're not one of those people.
You're behind the times.
Yeah.
You know what?
If you gain 5 pounds a year of real solid tissue, muscle tissue, that's pretty darn good after like if you've been training for about a year,
right.
You're probably tapped out. And 5 pounds a year is actually pretty good naturally,
right.
unless you do other things, to try to augment your hormone levels, which you can. There are natural ways to do it, But
I want to get into that conversation with you about how to replace hormone levels naturally, because you went through quite a journey on that. Yes. And it's really fascinating. You and I have talked about that for a couple of years since you started your journey in Maui. I remember it was about Maui, it's about when you started that. Having said that, though, when you were talking about crazy growth and people doing a lot of juice to get this insane amount of growth, bam! I just had to think of somebody that you introduced me to, which I went to a party one summer evening and met my amazing wife there at that party, Rich Piana, right?
Yeah, Rich Piana. Yeah. Rich. Yeah.
Now this was a good buddy of yours.
Yeah, he was a good friend. I knew him from when he was a teenager. Like the first time he walking into the gym. His mom was a bodybuilder. His stepdad was a bodybuilder.
And weren't they like realtors like myself, or were they just investing in real estate, or both?
I'm not sure. I think his mom, maybe. I'm not really sure about
Rich had mentioned that to me. And I just met him that one night, and the guy was just so down to earth, such a nice guy. Great party they threw. It was really amazing. My wife had known Rich and his wife and said they were just wonderful people, and they invited her to the party too. And I'm so happy they invited Amy and you invited me, and bam! Now we've got kids, married, the whole thing.
I take credit for that.
I even get it. I'll buy you a Guinness and a nice cigar.
Yeah, but Rich was, Rich was another guy who was very open, and he would talk very candidly about, about his steroid use and how to do it, and and he actually would discourage people, say you probably shouldn't do it, but if you're going to do it, this is how you do it. And this is what I do. He was a very good guy.
Yeah, he was. I liked him a lot.
Sad to lose him.
Sad story, man. Real sad story. I talk about someone growing. My God. Unbelievable. The arms on this guy were just crazy.
Yeah, he was enormous. Yeah. Rich was big. He was big.
Thank you for making me go to that party that night, because I met the most amazing woman in the world. But let's get back on track with Maui. And because that's about the time I knew that we were chatting and talking about this whole hormonal systems and what's happening because of maybe from doing it for years and years off and on and whatever. And I know not high doses, but still, when we get older, naturally, testosterone, HGH levels, even estrogen, all of it starts to slow down quite a bit the older we get, right? And then if you did do steroids at some point, maybe that could have had an effect on it too. Do you think, or not?
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
100%.
If you do, PEDs, you do testosterone, replace anything, it is going to affect how your body produces testosterone. You can, if you're young, it takes time, and you could get your body to bounce back, possibly.
Right.
But some people never, and with me, I didn't take a lot,
right.
But my testosterone was low anyway, in my life. I had it checked, a few different times, and it was always low. But when I was in Maui, I was, it was in my 50s, almost 60 years old at that point. And my testosterone was, I could tell that it was terrible. I just knew.
Yeah. Yeah.
Went to the doctor, had a profile done, and found that it was like 100, and like
100.
free testosterone was like 11. It was bad. I had the testosterone level of a prepubescent girl.
Man.
Yeah,
right.
It was.
I mean,
bad.
the doctors would have to jolt him one.
Yeah.
Something. Get him back to life.
Yeah, and so the doctor was like, he put me on 100. It was like 100 milligrams of testosterone every 2 weeks. I said, Doc, that's not enough. Going to keep me, or actually, that's going to be counterproductive, because now you're bringing in, testosterone, and my body is going to produce even less testosterone, because that's what happens. You bring the testosterone in, your body says, "Oh, there's the testosterone. We don't need to produce any." So it starts
exactly. Androgynously, when you bring testosterone or any hormone into your body androgynously, your natural production system is going to cut down because you've got it coming in.
Exactly. That's exactly what happens. Sometimes it bounces back. A lot of times it doesn't. Most often it doesn't bounce back. So I got to the point where it's like, Doc, this is, that's just not going to work. It's not working. And they refused, to give me more. I said, you got to give me at least 200, 250 a week.
So you're negotiating with the doctor now to give you some more tea, right?
Yeah, and they just wouldn't do it. They were way too conservative.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay.
Can I say, you should have called me, because I'm really good at negotiating. I would have got that up.
Should have. Then I would have been on 1,000 milligrams. Yeah.
You're 100. Let's go 500. I'll meet you in the middle. All right, let's go.
So, so I thought, okay, let me put together all the knowledge I already know. Let me look at some other things, that I need to do. And I started looking at it and thinking, okay, I can raise my testosterone levels. I know how to do that. Okay, great. So
I'm sorry. Do you mean androgynously you knew how to do that, or naturally?
Naturally.
So you already knew how to do that.
I knew, I knew many of the components, and I did go into a deep, research as well to try to find more ways to do it. So I found, I said to myself, okay, great. I can do all this, raise the testosterone level. Okay, big deal. Testosterone goes up. What happens? Okay, your body might not use it. Just to have a lot of testosterone doesn't mean your body is going to actually utilize all that testosterone.
Okay.
So then I'm thinking, okay, I need something, to help my body utilize testosterone. So then I figured that component out. But then there's the other component too. You raise your testosterone levels really high, okay? And what's going to happen is there is an enzyme in your body that will actually convert the testosterone. It's called aromatase.
Aromatase, right?
It's called aromatizing. Aromatizing is when the testosterone actually converts into estrogen. It's called the sex hormone binding globulin.
Right.
And it goes after your testosterone, and it converts it into estrogen. So it's like, okay, now I got to figure out something to combat that. So I put together some things and some research, and what are things that keep the estrogen down, and I put together this nutritional program, and then I was studying, looking at this intermittent fasting that was getting very popular.
Right. We talked a lot about that.
Right.
Yes.
I probably studied that for a year and a half before I gave it a shot.
Me as well. Yeah.
Yep. So I decided I'm going to do all these things, all these things together. Now, remember, my testosterone was about 100.
Right.
I started doing this. I went back about 6-8 weeks later to the doctor to have my testosterone checked. 1,390. It went up,
1,390.
it
That's an
went up to
amazing jump.
1,390.
Wow. Talk to
And
us, Vinny. Tell me what did you do? What was it you did from when you found out it was 100 to when you got it 6.5 weeks later to 1,390?
well, I started taking those, a supplement routine with, like I said, it had those three separate categories, those three components that are going to work synergistically all together,
Okay.
and threw in the intermittent fasting into it.
Intermittent
And
fasting.
yeah, and I probably
Herbs
gained,
and supplements.
within
Was
the
it herbs?
first, what's that?
Herbs? Was it different
It was
herbs,
herbs,
different
it was
vitamins?
herbs, vitamins, things like that, enzymes,
Okay.
all that, um, used creatine, things like that,
Creatine. Okay.
yeah, along with the intermittent fasting, and I probably gained, I'd say maybe 7 pounds, 8 pounds within, like a month or two.
Wow,
Which,
that's
for
amazing.
being natural, that's pretty darn good, especially when you're
That's
in
fantastic.
your late 50s. I was almost 60
Yeah.
at the point.
Right?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How about with the exercise? What were you doing as far as exercise to help with that?
I was doing like a 3-on, 1-off split. I split my
Break that
body up
down to
into. I did
break
it
that
split.
down to us that don't know what a 3-1 split
Oh,
is.
it's you train 3 days, take a day off. You break your body down into three. I broke it down to 3 different workouts, and then I would do those 3 and then take a day off, and then
Okay.
come back and then do the 3 workouts again. The
Okay.
3 different ones, 3 days. That was great when I was young, but I
Right.
found you get older, you don't recover as well.
Correct.
So you got to start backing off a little bit, on like your volume. My volume was still a little bit high, and I was getting injuries, and my elbows were really hurting, badly, shoulders, elbows, because my body
Right.
just couldn't take it.
Vinny, pardon me one sec. So talking about volume, right? We're not talking about the volume on your headset. We're talking
Right.
about the volume of how
Yeah.
much you're lifting, right?
Yeah, we're talking about
Right.
training volume. There's many
Like reps and sets.
Yeah.
Reps and sets. And sets of reps.
sets, exercises.
Okay.
There's guys you'll see. Like Arnold was. He was high volume.
High
Arnold
volume.
workouts were 3 hours long in the gym. I've done those workouts too. Those super high volume.
Yeah.
Your intensity level cannot be super high.
Right. Right.
Then you look at guys now like Dorian Yates. Okay, he's another bodybuilder. He's the one that they considered who ushered in the mass monster. When he hit the stage, it was like,
monster.
yeah,
Right.
like, oh, what is this guy doing?
Yeah.
He was more of a low volume, very high intensity type workout. More in line with the Mike Mentzer heavy duty type training.
That was another friend of yours, right? Mike Mentzer?
Yeah, and Mike Mentzer, yeah, and Mike was very thick and very powerful looking. He trained like that.
Is he the one that held the bench press championship or record?
No.
Who was that?
As far as a bodybuilder,
bench press.
Oh, you talk about my other buddy, Scott Mendelson.
Scott Mendelson. There you go. Yeah. He held the bench press record, right?
Yeah, it was another freak human being. Yeah.
What was it? 900 pounds or something he benched?
No, he benched. I think he tapped out at maybe 1,040.
Maybe 1,040. A small car. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah,
he held
it for a while. Yeah, he held the title for a while.
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
He was the first guy to bench. He was the first guy to bench 1,000 pounds.
The first guy to bench 1,000 pounds. How about that?
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Another super guy. Another really super
another nice guy. Yeah.
Yeah. He's got a place, out there in California. He trains people, and he's just, he's a super guy. So
I wonder how he was how perceptive he was to being called a freak everywhere he went, Jeez.
It was a good freak.
Yeah, good freak.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
But yeah, but so, he just started, training and powerlifting and, specifically bench press. And he
Yeah.
ended up making world records, you
How
know?
about that? How about
And
that? Maybe that's why he worked on getting so strong. People were calling him freaks all the time. It was like Ali, Muhammad Ali. Remember? I don't know if you heard the story, but what got him started boxing was some kid stole his bike.
his
Some bigger kid
bicycle.
stole his
Yes,
bicycle.
I
Yeah.
heard that story.
He
Yep.
went right down to the local boxing gym and they started training. I'm going to whoop some butt.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, if
How
someone
about that?
stole my bicycle, I ended up being a baseball player, if you know what I mean.
That's the East Coast in you right there, pal.
There you go.
Right? Too funny, man. So let's get back on track real quick with that. In Maui, hormones, you went from 100 testing, which is like flat line on your T levels.
Yeah.
T levels, your testosterone.
Yeah.
And were you feeling pretty lethargic, depressed?
Yes.
Energy levels low?
Libido was low, energy level was low, ambition was low,
It's all low.
everything was low.
All of it. And a lot of people think it's just about sex. It's just about sex. That's just one thing out of like 20 elements.
No. My fatigue, I was getting super thick in the waist, the whole thing. It was just, it's just bad. So often.
Even memory can become challenged.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I was like, okay, maybe I need to lean out. I was like, I was trying to eat better and, and watch my calories and the food. And I'm thinking, and it's like, how little do I have to eat in order to get lean now?
Really?
It was bad. Hormones were a disaster.
Okay. Yeah. So you were a mess.
Yeah.
And then you found out you're flatlining. So you took on for the next 6-7 weeks of the intermittent fasting, right?
Yep.
Was it the intermittent fasting, or did you do more of the longer winded, like 2-3 day fasting kind of thing? 36 or 40 hours?
I did the intermittent fasting every day, and I haven't done this in a while, but I would go periodically I would do the longer fasting. The longest I've gone was 48.
48. Oh, that's a ride. Yeah. That's a run right there.
Yeah, and the intermittent fasting is a good way of raising your testosterone.
Correct.
Our old thinking, the old conventional thinking was, oh, you got to eat all the time or you're going to lose. If you go more than 3 hours, your body's going to start going into a catabolic state, which is, the body losing muscle, eating the muscle tissue. That's what we always thought. But that's really not what the science has showed us, the latest science.
Right.
What the latest science shows us is when you go longer periods without eating, what happens is your body wants to maintain the muscle that you have, the natural muscle that it wants to keep you at the level. And so it's afraid that you're going to lose it. What hormones are responsible for gaining muscle? Testosterone and growth hormone.
Right.
Those two shoot up dramatically as you're fasting. They go
something
up
like anywhere from 500 to 1,000% are some of the numbers I read.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Naturally.
That's astronomical. Yep. And here's what happened in my body within 3 weeks or so of doing that. It was like, 4 or 5 inches just bam disappeared off of my waist. Gone.
Wow. In 6 weeks. How about that?
Yeah. And as I got into it, I would say maybe about at the 3-4 month mark, my body kind of reset. It kind of went back in time a little bit. And I remember it's like, saying to myself, okay, I'm trying to train and I want to put on more muscle here. And I was getting leaner and leaner. And I'm thinking, wow, I'm getting too lean. I need to loosen up on my diet now, and I got to take in some more calories and more fats, more carbs, Okay. So I started eating, a little bit more, and it kind of evened it out. But my body kind of reset after a few months,
Right. Okay. How do you mean it reset? What did it do? What made you feel it reset?
It kind of, I think my hormone levels came back in check, and my body was probably, utilizing the insulin better, because there's a thing, we know now called insulin resistance.
Right.
That's
Yep. Big
another,
tough. Big tough.
yeah, another thing that's happening with a lot of people. The body just, after a while, our diets, here in the United States they're very like carbohydrate laden. Everything is carbohydrates. We don't really focus on like the good fats and the proteins. It's like carbs. Let's have potatoes and rice and pastas and breads, all
Yep.
those things. So what
Correct.
happens is when you introduce the carbohydrates into your system, your body breaks it down. What happens is it breaks down into glycogens and all that. Now that has to get into the cell. What's responsible for that is the insulin. Your body produces the insulin. It's like a little key, unlocks that receptor, and the cell starts to accept the glycogens. Well, what happens is, so you're taking in so many carbs over years, your body is just flooding your system with insulin all the time. Finally, the cells just rebel and they say, forget it. No, you're not coming in here anymore. We're holding you back. You can't come in. So what happens is all this glycogen floating around your system, now it's going to get stored as body fat. And that's what happens to a lot of people. And I think I might have had a little bit of that going on. And with the intermittent fasting and keeping that insulin low, my body started to reset, and the cells and everything started to reset so that the cells would accept the the glycogens and everything again. And I think that's one of the things that happened.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Intermittent fasting or fasting altogether is just powerful.
Yeah.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah.
I hope a lot, and I know a lot of people are seeing it a lot more. It's really becoming more public knowledge today.
Yeah.
Where it wasn't before.
There's a couple of things that it does also that it does really well. Not only it keeps that insulin down, the old way was eat, every few hours. Okay. So you eat, and then, your levels are up here, and then the glycogen levels start to dip, and then they start to go down. You get into where you're going to start going into that stored body fat. Okay.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you eat again. Whoop, you come out of it. Now you're going like that again. You start to dip down. You might get into where your body's going to have to utilize stored fats. Boom, up again. So you're going like that. You never get into that area where you're burning those, the body fat. With the intermittent fasting, you eat and then you go down and bam, now your body's hits a low glycogenated state. You get into where your body's going to start burning stored body fat. Now you're in that for a longer period of time.
How about that?
And then you start to eat, and I had to work it out too, as well as like, okay, I'm bodybuilding. I need this much protein and I did this and that. So I just compacted it within those few hours of eating.
Yeah. Pretty easy to do. It's actually fun. For me, it's like you get to have a feast or a longer session of eating. Start out a little protein and fats, and then, maybe a protein bar or a shake, and then roll right into maybe another half an hour food, a meal, nice big meal. And then if I have a little time, my eat window will be 3 or 4 hours some days. And that's it.
Yeah. Me too. And I knew people that ate once a day. They did the intermittent fast. They ate once a day. They ate like this, like they just gorged themselves. I had a friend would come over and he would eat and eat. He wouldn't eat till he was full. He would eat till he was tired. He would just eat so much food. Like,
I need a nap now. I'll get up and eat some more in a minute.
He'd come over. We'd have movie night and we'd watch some movies. He'd come up with bags and just Tupperwares, and oh my God, he used to eat. It was crazy.
Well, the good news is he was nice enough to bring his own food, right?
Yeah.
That's a guy you don't want coming over for dinner.
I know. I had to hide my pets and my animals. I had to put them in the other room.
Hide the pets. That's awesome. Good for you, man. Yeah. What a journey though you had. I mean, so then you saw where, flatline on your T levels. I'm sure your HGH levels were just toast as well.
Right.
Just tired, probably brain fog.
Yeah.
Motivation level super low. Probably some skin things happening. Body fat counts, energy just was off.
Yeah,
And
everything get, my patience was shorter. I get aggravated easy. It was just bad.
right,
Your testosterone goes down. It affects every aspect of your
everything.
life.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
men and women,
In
correct?
men and women. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody's immune from that.
No
So,
one is immune from that. Your hormone levels
yeah.
have to be, they got to be balanced. And that's
Hmm.
the whole thing. Everybody, it's when you're working out, people go in there, work out, they think, oh, I'm going to work out and take some protein drinks. No, you know what? It's about your hormone levels. Where are they at? And
Right. Right.
that's what a huge factor. There's some other factors, but that's a huge factor in how much progress you're going to make, how much muscle you're going to put on. It, you
Yeah.
know, it's an enormous factor. So you have to try to augment those hormone levels, and it's for not just muscle, it's in general for your health.
Yeah.
Once those hormone levels start going down, everything just starts to fall apart, and you
It's
start
amazing.
to get old. you know
Absolutely amazing. I was just thinking, reminding me about the intermittent fasting way back, what was it, 25, 30 years ago when I was boxing. My trainer, Thel Torrance, who's today 86 years old. And my wife and I just saw him at the Hall of Fame induction down there in Long Beach. And the guy looks amazing. He's moving around. He's still training fighters. Now, he's not out working the mitts and all these things, but
Yeah.
he's got a guy doing that. But he's there. He's going to the gym. He's getting up in the ring, the whole thing,
Oh,
and
good for
still
him.
got a good energy level. His attitude's always fantastic, like it always was. But I remember back in boxing, he would always go with these long bouts of not eating much.
Yeah.
And then we would talk about, diet going into the fight, when you have a boxing match coming up, and it's super important how you layer that in, what you're eating a couple days
Yeah.
before,
Absolutely.
maintaining your weight. And then the night before, hugely important. And then most of us have to make a weight unless you're fighting heavyweight. You don't care what your weight is, but
Yeah.
for all the other weights under that, they've got to watch the weight. They're always going to the maximum peak weight they can at the heaviest weight, but they want to make it just to that next level under, right?
Right.
So Thel would always tell me, he goes, when he'd go do a big training or to a fight, he always liked to be almost hungry, like come into an
Right.
event hungry, like I'm ready to eat. And
Yeah.
what would that do? That would bring your HGH levels up, your
Exactly.
testosterone up. But the
Exactly.
guys that want to eat and they're like constantly putting calories in food every, 6 times a day, 8 times a day, you're just dropping all that down and keeping it on a low level.
Exactly. You're exactly right. And especially as you get older, it's important, that intermittent fasting works really well with, people who are a little older, because our hormone levels are going down, you know,
Absolutely.
um, you
Absolutely.
know, you can look, I can look at someone, and I can tell you, okay, that person right there, even if they're young or old, I can say that person is a candidate, for intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting would help this person out tremendously,
I think everybody should employ some
Yeah,
of
I
that
think
in
so.
their life.
And there's another component of it. It's called autophagy. Um,
Yes, thank you for bringing that up.
yeah,
It's absolutely
and that's a
important.
very that's a very exciting thing. Autophagy is you have these cells. You have billions of dead cells just floating around in your body. Basically, you can say, you know,
Cancerous cells.
it could be, yeah,
Yes.
and what autophagy is after a while, the body starts to look for, it's not getting the nutrition like to rebuild the cells and to do all these things. So what it does, it looks for, basically, it's like it goes into the junkyard and it's looking for
Yes.
parts, and it
Yes. It wants
starts
to hear
to,
the garbage.
yeah, it starts to utilize, the old dead cells and taking
Yep.
components and stuff basically from those old dead cells.
Yes.
And you can see the difference if you take someone who's like really obese and you put them on a calorie restricted diet where they're eating throughout the day, and then you do it with intermittent fasting. What they've seen was the skin on the person who intermittent fasted is tighter, it's better, their
Mhm.
mind is clearer, because it even clears out some of the, the dead cells in the brain as well. So there's more clarity. It's a really good tool, and I was against it for a long time,
Yeah,
until I
it didn't
just kept,
sound fun.
was that?
It didn't sound any fun, not eat.
No,
What?
no, because I was so locked into that old fashioned, you got to eat several times a day or you're not going to lose weight and you blah, blah, blah. I was so into that, and I
Yes, yes,
preached that for years,
yes.
but I studied it and studied it and studied it. And I kept saying, wow, okay, there's something here.
Something here.
I'm gonna give it a shot. And I gave it a shot and I like it. And I still do it now. I've been doing it for years now,
Yeah,
for about
it's
4 or 5 years.
super
Mm.
powerful. And I've actually seen more supporting evidence come out from doctors now, and people like Gary Brecka, human biologists, that are sharing
Right.
information about how that autophagy looks. They've actually got some a little video showing us. It's almost like a Pac-Man,
Yeah,
coming
definitely.
in,
Yeah.
autophagy Pac-Man
Yep.
coming in and going after all the bad cells in the body and just
Yeah.
steam
Yep.
it.
Yeah.
So it makes complete sense because the body's in a survival mode, right? Fight or
Exactly.
flight kicks in because back in the days of our caveman brothers and sisters, right? When
Right.
they didn't have refrigerators and
No.
microwaves, they had to get up and go find the food.
Yeah.
And they had to eat the food when they got it, right?
They might have eaten once a week if they were lucky.
Correct.
You
Correct.
know.
So the body naturally is designed to handle that and actually probably work more efficiently like that
Yes.
instead of
Right.
what I don't know if it's the food industry or the doctors working with them or the government, where that all came together of 3 meals a day. And as we looked at the basic right food plan they gave us, it's
Right.
terrible.
Yeah.
It's
It's
absolutely terrible.
terrible.
Folks, if you're out there following that, stop it. Stop it. Don't do
Right.
it anymore. You need
Yeah.
to really do some research and put a lot of thought into this process and talk to somebody like Vinny. Vinny can share some good
Yeah.
information because not only have they studied this and read it, they've applied it to their own
Yeah.
life amongst other people that they train, and get
Yeah.
them ready for movies and things like that.
Right.
And then there's all kinds of different facets of you just want to get ripped really fast, or do you just want to go for good health,
Exactly.
which
Yeah.
could be different, right?
Yeah. Then you've got to, you've got to manipulate it and structure it. It's like, okay, I'm going to do intermittent fasting now. How am I going to eat to get big? How am I going to eat to get ripped? I just want to stay in good shape. I just want to be healthy. How should I eat then? You can apply it. You can still apply it within that, that time frame. You just gotta structure it right. And you could do all those things and still be intermittent fasting. Except if
Right.
you want to be a sumo wrestler. I'm not sure. I got to figure that one out.
Not going to work. Good. That's funny. Vinny, so with the supplements you were taking, okay, and the intermittent fasting from when you flatlined to where you got that up to the 1300 levels in 6-7 weeks.
Uh-huh.
We're talking about the training, the weightlifting. You're always doing weightlifting because it's the best thing you could do.
Yeah.
I've heard lots of debate on light weights and more reps or heavier weights, more resistance, maybe less reps, but more resistance.
Yeah.
In your opinion, what do you think is better for somebody to do?
Well, it depends. It depends on what you want. Okay. There's certain rep ranges, but again, there's also controversy that way. Lower repetitions it seems to be more conducive to just getting really strong. Okay. If you want to, gain muscle, hypertrophy, if you want that, you need a little bit higher reps. I always try to keep around six
Six reps.
repetitions. Yeah.
And
Six.
so
And
that's
then,
considered a high rep range for
yeah,
you?
yeah. I wouldn't want to go. I usually didn't want to go lower. Every once in a while, I would because I came from back east where it was like gotta be strong as you can. So we
Yeah.
used to lift really heavy sometimes, but as a general rule, I kept it around six. I would
Okay.
go a little higher than that, but I
Yeah.
never liked to go over 12 repetitions or so back in
Okay.
the day.
Your East Coast people would lift a lot of heavy weight because they got to be strong.
Yeah.
And then you come to the West Coast, you probably saw a lot more reps.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was like, oh, a lot of guys with the 10 reps. It's like, oh, I don't know, that's
Sorry,
really high.
California. I didn't mean anything
Yeah,
bad by that. I just, hey, you're more shredded, right?
yeah. So, and then
It's not as
you're
cold
gonna
in California.
you
You need that extra weight back in back east.
yeah, then you're gonna get into, how many sets, and then you get the people that are, like the Arnold's, guy like Arnold, and and there's a few other guys that do really, really high volume, workouts. I mean, like lots and lots and lots of sets.
Right.
John Defendis, he does it. And it works.
Yeah.
These guys are
Yeah.
tremendous.
Yeah.
They have tremendous physiques. Then
Yeah.
you look at the other side. But then, then you look at the other side. There's guys. There was like Mentzer and Casey Viator and Dorian Yates, and these guys did more of a very low volume type workout, extremely high intensity. We're talking,
Okay.
we're talking going to failure, then force reps and rest pause and negatives. I mean,
Yeah.
just completely obliterating the muscle, just
Unbelievable.
destroying it,
Yeah.
and then recovering. Mike Mentzer trained 2 to 3 days a week, most often twice a week. That's it. And look at the physique he had. And he was considered one of the harder, thicker guys, for his era. Dorian Yates trained 4 days a week. That's it.
Okay.
He trained only 4 days a week. His workouts were like 45 minutes long. So that's it. Just completely annihilated the muscle in that short period of time. And he was just a behemoth. He was just huge and hard like nobody has ever been.
Correct. Yeah.
Just like a rock.
But
so
these guys
it
train
works.
like that. Sorry, go ahead.
So that we see that does work. You get a lot of guys and they go, "Oh, you have to train this way," and Arnold's way is the only way, and no, Mentzer's way is the only way, and the other stuff doesn't work. Well, are you looking at each other? Are you seeing a guy here who trains like this who looks great, and you're seeing a guy over here who trains like that and looks great? You got to figure out what's good for you, what you like. Right now, I'm doing more of a heavy duty thing.
You are. Okay.
I train a couple of days a week. If I'm lucky, maybe 3, days a week. I go in there and I'm training hard. It's intense. Lower volume. Really, each set is hard. I mean, like really intense and really hard.
Right.
And then I rest. I let my body rest. Sometimes I'll take a whole week off. And
so you're not one of these guys in the gym reading a book or something like that when you're on the treadmill, right?
No, never. No cardio. Yeah. I have an aversion to cardio. No. So, but and I'm seeing my body changing and getting rounder and a little fuller again.
Now, when you say rounder, there's a lot of people out there wondering what that means. Rounder.
Just the muscles are starting to get round. And you get those deep, long muscle bellies, and they're just filling out. Instead of being like long, looking like a marathon runner, like long and straight.
Like Santa Claus, the bodybuilder, getting those deep, long muscle bellies.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So I'm there's some things. It's the recovery. Now, one of the things that I'm starting to think that happens with this with the heavy duty type training, when you start training and you go in there and you gain really fast, right? And you gain a lot of muscle in a short period of time. Then all of a sudden, bam, it stops. And it's like, oh crap. What I'm starting to think, this is just, my basic ideas. There's no science behind this. So what I'm thinking is that's your body's, adaptive mechanism. It begins to adapt to what you're doing. And so it gets to a point where it says, okay, I got it. I know what you're doing. I'm good right where I am. and then you got to really force the body to make any more gains. So I'm thinking, this infrequency in training, I go in there 2 times a week, maybe sometimes 3, sometimes because of my work, I have to take a week off. And then it seems like all of a sudden within that week, I'm not training. It's like I look at myself and I go, man, I'm fuller. My body looks more full, more round. So I'm thinking maybe what's happening is because there's no consistency, that my body, that adaptive mechanism is not coming into play because it's not getting stimulated in that way enough for the body to really catch up and know what's going on.
Definitely
It's
something to be
just
said
an
for that.
idea. I don't know if there's any research behind it, but it's just kind of an idea that maybe I have because it's like empirical data. I'm just seeing it and I'm thinking, maybe,
Really. I agree.
it's the same thing when I was training, doing the intermittent fasting. Sometimes I train in the afternoon when I was in the eating phase. And then, because of scheduling, sometimes I would train in the mornings, when I was, I didn't have any food in me.
Okay.
There was no difference in energy levels or, during the training or strength. I noticed I got maybe a little more pumped in the afternoon when I was eating, but I thought, hey, there's nothing different. And then there was a time where my work schedule was forcing me to go in the morning all the time, and during the times where I was fasting. And I started noticing, and thinking to myself, hey, you know what? I look like I'm making better progress training while I'm in my fasting state. And then I looked and I found research that actually backed that up,
And why? HGH levels up, T levels up while you're fasting.
Yeah. And then the intensity of the workout, the shorter duration, workout is spiking your testosterone even higher.
Right. And psychologically speaking, a lot of people we've all been conditioned to feel we have to have food in our body.
Yes.
We can't go on an empty stomach anywhere to do anything. And it's so crazy because since I started this journey with fasting years back, I can't remember, Amy, I've been doing it for off and on for 4 or 5 years or something. And I really like it. I really feel the benefits, feel great. My energy for my age at 57, I feel great and good energy. And when I don't do it that much, I feel a difference too.
Yeah. This is all about becoming healthy, getting your body into, into that homeostasis, into that good, place where it's just the hormone levels are right. Your body's burning all the, the calories, and your insulin levels are right, and everything is right, and you're healthy.
Yeah, a lot of truth to what we're talking about here, and this is all tried, true, and tested, deeply researched stuff.
Yeah,
and I'm so glad that you got to talk about so many different facets of your life coming up with nutrition, with bodybuilding, with exercise, physiology, and endocrinology, and all these different aspects of just good health and how somebody looks at those things and how they apply them to their life. Right.
Right. Absolutely. It's been a long journey, a lot of learning, lots of learning. I wasn't always the type that just heard something and then, okay, I'll do it. I would, instead of, like if I got a muscle magazine, I would look for a research article, or I would get, medical journals, and I would read the medical journals and, things like that. It's like, okay, let me find out, let me look and see what this medical journal says. So to see if it could help me in my bodybuilding, I would do things like that, to try to find ways.
I'd like to throw a challenge out to you, which one thing that's just hitting me really hard right now, that I feel like I should tell you. I feel so compelled to tell you that, or to suggest to you anyways, that, maybe writing a book about these things. I know you've written a couple books out. I don't think you have them all published yet about the other dynamics that you've been in your life, which we can talk about another. One of them we didn't even mention is where there was a bronze statue made of you in Connecticut, right?
No, it's in Indiana in
I'm sorry, Indiana.
Purdue University.
You were the model for this
Yeah.
statue that's there.
Yeah.
Still today,
Yeah.
right?
It's still there. It's still there
That's
today.
amazing. Wow,
So,
unbelievable. Well, Vince Adams, 63 years old, man, looking amazing, healthy, just got it all going on, man. I hope you come out with a supplement line and book and share that knowledge that you've acquired through the years, through the decades, I should say, actually, right?
I will work on it. Yeah, decades. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're easy to talk to all the time and got a lot of knowledge. I'm thinking maybe there should be a phone number people should get someday or sometime where they could call you and just maybe, ask questions about health and nutrition. And hey,
yeah, I have my my email. People can get in touch with me there. Another thing people don't know that I'm was a licensed hypnotherapist.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. I remember when you did that. Yeah.
So I was doing that for a while.
Good guy to talk to about health and nutrition and all that stuff, and mental health even, right?
Mental health. Yeah, that's a big one. We all struggle with that from time to time.
Yeah. Oh, boy, it's a daily battle, man.
Yeah, it's there's no shame, in admitting that you struggle sometimes. Life is hard.
Right.
It's difficult, and we
absolutely.
all we all take the punches, and and we got to keep getting up, got
to keep getting up. It doesn't seem to matter what your income level is or what demographic you are. You could be a bazillionaire. You still have struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a fight. Life is a fight. You got to take life into the later rounds.
Later rounds. Keep jabbing. Keep moving.
And then maybe, just maybe one day, life will punch itself out.
Itself out. Don't get cornered.
And there you go. You'll be a smooth sailing.
Right. I like it, man. I love it, Vinny. Always great talking to you, man. I have a feeling that down the road we're probably gonna have to come out with another one of these. Chat more about it. We'll see what kind of questions come out from this video and formulate something down the road. Okay, my friend?
Terrific. Hey, it was great. It was great talking with you and seeing you in person. Haven't seen you in a while. Both of you guys, the happy, wonderful, beautiful couple that I put together that made beautiful children.
Matchmaker. That's another thing you got to add to your resume. Matchmaker.
Yes, and
Awesome. Vinny, good seeing you, buddy.
All right.